Welcome back, everybody. In today's video, I'm going to be taking this pretty sad looking Facebook Marketplace dresser and doing what I can to turn this around. To say this piece was gross is a bit of an understatement. As you can see, lots of mouse poop. There's dings and chips all over this. It's dirty. This piece has a solid wood frame, but the top and sides are laminate. If you're new to my channel, you're probably going to wonder why I would waste my time on something like this. If you've been around for a while though, you guys know that this is the type of furniture I like to work on. This is the stuff that nobody cares about and usually ends up in the dump. So let's change that. My name is Angie and I refinish furniture. Sometimes I paint and sometimes I don't, but I always do what I can to save old pieces from the trash. Welcome to my workroom. So jumping right into this makeover, I want to talk a little bit more about the construction. So like I said, solid wood frame, laminate top and sides. This wood grain, if you will, on the front is not actual wood grain. It's a faux blonde finish on top of solid wood drawers, but the grain that you're seeing in the finish is not the grain of the wood that's underneath this finish, which you'll see a little bit later on when I go to remove this old finish. It's not quite the same thing as the blonde finish from a lot of the mid-century mahogany furniture. This is all faux. So because I'm lucky here that the drawer faces themselves are solid wood, I'm going to be stripping right back to that wood. But keeping in mind when you do that on pieces like this, there's usually a reason they pick that specific wood for underneath another finish. It's usually not great quality, it's very mismatched, it can be miscolored. You never really know what you're going to get. But for me, anything is better than what I'm looking at right now. So you guys saw me take the hardware off, pull the drawers out, vacuum all of the mouse poop up from the inside, and now I'm getting to cleaning. I have to clean every square inch of this piece inside and out. A piece like this that's been left in a barn or a basement or a garage, just because they've had some little rodents in there doesn't necessarily mean that it's a write-off and should be tossed. You do have to be a bit careful with mouse excrement because of hantavirus, which isn't super common around here, but it is in other parts of the world. You can see here that actually all of the drawer bottoms are loose at the back, so I'll have to repair that. You can also see I have a mask on now. I didn't while I was vacuuming because I wasn't really disturbing anything, but now that I have the sander going to try to smooth out all of these little nice chew marks, I just want to make sure I'm not breathing in any grossness. So another reason that I'm lightly sanding the inside is so that I can add some odor blocking primer. Now it doesn't really smell too bad, but this is just going to seal in everything. So onto the drawers, I'm going to refinish these inside and out. So I'm going to make sure to sand everything. You can see I'm even going to be sanding away the old overspray from the manufacturer. All of the drawer bottoms were popped up at the back. You can see they're just stapled down. So I'm just going to tap that back down, but I'm not going to rely on that. I'm adding 2 small nails in the back to hold it as well. I'm very lucky that these are solid wood drawers because it's going to give me more options when it comes to refinishing. I'm not limited only to paint, which is sometimes the case with these laminate pieces. So you can see as I'm sanding here, there's this white layer coming up. That is the primer that was sprayed on, and then the new faux finish was laid over top of that. It's fairly easy to sand right through that into the raw wood, but you have to be really careful with these dressers. They can be misleading. The 2 top drawers have this groove that's been routed in to make it look like it's 2 drawers. Initially I was just smoothing it out with sanding, but as you can see here it's quite shallow, so I'm actually going to go in a bit and reroute that channel just to make it stand out a bit more. This drawer needs some repairs. This glue block is in completely the wrong spot and looks like it's always been there. And there was a split in the side of the drawer itself, so I'm adding some wood glue in and I'm going to clamp it up. This small spring clamp at the end is just going to hold the two pieces in line with each other, and then, well, not this clamp, wrong clamps. These clamps are going to apply pressure. One thing you want to be careful of, and I see this happen all the time, you don't have to press super hard with the clamps, especially on a repair like this, because if you clamp too hard, those pieces are going to shift a bit. So I haven't really told you my total plan yet. Obviously the tops and sides are getting painted and part of the frame. I need to remove that slick shiny surface, so I'm just scuffing down past that. You don't want to go too far down or you'll expose the cardboard or fiberboard backing underneath. I was initially hoping to have these two sections be wood grain showing because they are solid wood, as is much of the frame, but when I started sanding down this bottom one, the grain that would be facing you is just not that pretty. It's not the right type of grain, and you can actually see it a little bit better here in this shot. It's just, I don't really want this showing, so those will be getting painted after all. I'm adding some CA glue here to rebond where this is pulled away from the frame. It's kind of nice with this type of glue because you can just sort of let gravity do its thing and add some accelerator and then basically just press and hold. And this stuff works really quickly. Originally it would have been adhered with something like contact cement, but when you're doing a repair like this, you can't really get contact cement in there. So this is a quick and easy way to bond it. So one thing this piece is missing, as you can see here, are its casters. Now I don't have anything here that will fit. Normally there would be a long insert that would plug in here. I don't really think this is the right piece for tapered legs, just kind of the way the base is built. I think it would look funny, so I am going to get some small casters to replace the ones that are missing. Obviously you guys can't feel through the television or phone, but the top of this is quite pitted. There's quite a bit of scratches and divots. I have this wood filler I've had for a while. I don't particularly like it, so this is a great piece to kind of get rid of it on. You can see it just doesn't spread very well, and this is definitely not my favorite. This is going to look super messy, but all I'm really doing is spreading this over the entire thing. You could do the same thing with Bondo or something like that. I just really wanted to get rid of this wood filler. And as I'm sanding the dried excess away, you can see how it has filled all of those little divots and scratches. This is important for a smooth finish. But now that I have two different textures on the top, I'm going to have to prime. I use Fusion Mineral Paint, which is usually really good for adhesion, and when you're painting over something like laminate that's been scuff sanded properly and cleaned, I find you don't always need a primer with Fusion. I'm not worried about bleed through, but in this situation I do have wood filler on there. If I were to just paint the top as is, those little marks would show through the paint. So, of course, I made a mess. You can see it kicked back here a little bit on me and dried almost immediately on my counter. But a little bit of rubbing alcohol and away it goes. I ran out of my normal rollers, so I picked these up. I don't really know how these are going to work, but we're going to give it a go. I had so many ideas for this. I thought about bright colors, I thought about pretty much everything, but there's one color that I've had sitting here for a long time that I haven't used yet, and that is Wick. I'm not a huge brown taupey kind of person, but this color was intriguing to me. The first coat always goes on fairly thin when you're using a brush. Don't be alarmed. You can see that thin first coat dries super hard and provides the foundation, if you will, for the subsequent coats of paint. So back to those two grooves in the top drawers. I'm using this compact router to do this. I do have a big router, but for a job like this is totally fine. I'm using a straight 1/8 inch bit. And basically all I'm doing is just setting it directly in the middle of the groove. It's the same width, adjusting the fence, and then routing. You always want to make sure you're going in the right direction. There is a right and wrong way to do it. And that looks much better to me. Using a router can be scary and intimidating, but I find if you start off with something small like a trim router, even if you get a bigger one later, you'll still use the trim router for certain things, so that's what I would recommend. This is not chocolate milk. A while back, I did a monotone set of laminate dressers. Same idea, the top and sides were laminate and the fronts were laminate covered solid wood. But I didn't love the result, so I wanted kind of a second go at it with this similar but different color. So this time I'm using more water in my paint wash and then actually sanding some of it back. What this is going to do is tint the wood all the same color, but still allow the warmth to come through, which I think is what was missing in that first set of dressers that I did. This is what the drawer would look like without sanding it back, which is still nice, but it's just a bit too dark. Because these don't have a full paint wash on, because I sanded some of it off, when I put this wood butter on, it is going to darken a bit, but that's what I want here. I wanted the paint wash to tint the wood slightly gray in certain areas so that even though these boards are completely mismatched and, different colors, different grains, it'll still, hopefully anyway, work together and give me a little bit more translucency and warmth than the other set that I showed you a minute ago. You're probably wondering why I bothered to paint wash anyway if I was going to sand some of it off, and if you look at the inside of the drawer, how much more yellow it is, you can see that this has tinted it slightly, which is all I needed. This is a new product to me. I saw it recommended a few times when I was doing that clock a few weeks back. Supposedly this cleans and polishes really well without really damaging plated metal, and it just came in the mail a couple of days ago. And it actually does a pretty good job. It removes tarnish, but if that tarnish has eaten through the plating, obviously it's not going to help that. I thought about adding more modern hardware to this piece. I thought about repainting these, but considering I'm dealing here with paint grade wood and a bit of a sob story in terms of this piece's history, I thought leaving the original hardware, complete with its patina, would be a good idea. These are the casters that I bought. I paid more for these casters than I did for the entire unit. Considering no one's gonna see this, it might seem a little silly, but it kinda just makes me smile that this will be up off the floor in such a pretty way now. So the ultimate test here, Willow is our resident mouser. She can smell a mouse a mile away. I thought it would be a good idea to have her come in and do the sniff test.
I need you to do your thing. No interest. Smell. What's in here? I think that's a good sign. Come here. I smell this.
So we are in the home stretch now. Everyone's still with me. Thank you, you rock. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. I try to get 3 videos out a month. Looking back at what I started with, I almost don't even recognize it. It's so different now. These pieces get overlooked all the time at thrift stores, usually because they look like this or they might be a little bit stinky. And yeah, this isn't a top quality piece, but it's not junk either. This is still a really sturdy piece of furniture. I truly believe I was the last hope for this. The lady I got it from bought it to flip it. I think she was overwhelmed with what she had to work with because she immediately listed it again and bought something else. This was the last chance for this guy, and hopefully I did it justice. I love a well-built, solid walnut piece of furniture with, stunning wood grain, but there is sometimes beauty in imperfections, and these drawer fronts are exactly that for me. As always, thank you so much for watching, enjoy the reveal, and I will see you next time.